Most people think the United States is only 50 states. That is what we see in school books and on the flag with 50 stars. But the truth is that America is bigger than that. Across the Caribbean and the Pacific Ocean, there are 14 U.S. territories that many people never hear about. Some of these places are full of life and culture, like Puerto Rico, Guam, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. Others are small islands with no people living there at all. Each one has its own history and importance. Together, they tell a side of America that is often hidden. These territories matter. Many people there are U.S. citizens. They work hard, they serve in the military, and they care deeply about their communities. But life in the territories is not the same as life in the 50 states. They face challenges that most Americans do not think about, and their voices are often missing when national decisions are made. In this video, we will uncover the 14 territories one by one. You will see what makes them unique, why the United States holds on to them, and how they shape the future of the country. By the end, you will realize that America is not just the land on the mainland map, but also these faraway places that carry real meaning. Before we continue, please like this video and subscribe to the channel so you never miss more content about life and places across America. Now that we know America is more than just the 50 states, let us understand what a U.S. territory really is. A territory is land that belongs to the United States, but it is not a state. That means it is under American control, but it does not have the same rights as the states do. There are two main types of territories. The first are called incorporated territories. These are fully part of the U.S. under the Constitution, but today no incorporated territories remain. The second are unincorporated territories, and this is what all 14 territories are today. In these places, only parts of the Constitution apply, and Congress has the power to decide how they are governed. Some territories are organized, meaning they have their own local government and legislature. Puerto Rico, Guam, and the U.S. Virgin Islands are examples. Others are unorganized, with no permanent population or government, like Baker Island or Howland Island in the Pacific. What makes this even more important is that people living in the major territories are American citizens, but they cannot vote for president. They can send a delegate to Congress, but that delegate cannot vote on final laws. This creates a unique situation where millions of Americans live under the U.S. flag, but do not share the same political power as people in the states. Now that we know what territories are, let us look at the 5 major ones where people actually live. Together, they are home to more than 3.5 million Americans. We begin with Puerto Rico. This is the largest and most populated territory. Around 3 million people live there, making it bigger than many U.S. states. Puerto Ricans are U.S. citizens, but they cannot vote for president. The island has its own culture. Spanish is the main language, and its economy depends on tourism, agriculture, and manufacturing. Next is Guam, located in the Pacific Ocean. It is small in size, but very important for the U.S. military. Guam is home to American bases that are key for security in Asia. About 170,000 people live there, and many of them are native Chamorro people. Tourism, especially from Japan and South Korea, also supports its economy. We then move to the U.S. Virgin Islands in the Caribbean. This territory is made up of several islands, and it is known for beautiful beaches and tourism. About 100,000 people live there. While tourism is the biggest part of the economy, the islands also face challenges with high living costs and limited jobs. Another territory is the Northern Mariana Islands, also in the Pacific. Around 50,000 people live there. The islands have their own local government, and the economy depends on tourism and some garment manufacturing. Like Guam, the Northern Mariana Islands also play a role in U.S. security in the Pacific. Finally, we have American Samoa. This is unique because people born there are U.S. nationals, not full citizens, unless they go through the naturalization process. About 50,000 people live in American Samoa. The islands have a strong traditional culture, and tuna fishing and canneries are major parts of the economy. These 5 territories are very different from one another, but they all share the same issue. They are part of the United States, yet their people do not have the same rights or political voice as citizens in the 50 states. Now that we have explored the 5 major territories, let us look at the 9 minor ones. These territories are very different because almost nobody lives there permanently. They are mostly small islands and atolls scattered across the Pacific and the Caribbean. One example is Wake Island. It is located in the Pacific Ocean and is controlled by the U.S. Air Force. There are no permanent residents, but the military uses it for operations. Another is Midway Atoll, which is famous for its role in World War II. Today, it is mostly a wildlife refuge with only a small number of staff and researchers. We also have islands like Baker Island, Howland Island, and Jarvis Island. These are tiny and uninhabited, sitting in the Central Pacific. They are protected areas and are mostly visited by scientists. Next are Kingman Reef and Palmyra Atoll. Palmyra is especially unique because it is the only incorporated U.S. territory. That means it is legally considered a part of the United States, but it has no permanent residents. Finally, there is Navassa Island in the Caribbean. It is uninhabited and has been the subject of disputes in the past, but today it is managed as a nature preserve. All of these minor territories may not have people living on them, but they are still important. They give the U.S. control over vast areas of the ocean, help with military positioning, and also protect valuable natural resources. So after learning about the major and minor territories, the question becomes, why do these places really matter to the United States? The truth is, they play a much bigger role than most people realize. First, they are important for strategic defense and security. Many territories, like Guam and Wake Island, host military bases or give the U.S. military access to parts of the world that would otherwise be out of reach. Second, they provide economic value. The ocean areas around these territories are huge. They give the United States control of fisheries, shipping routes, and even the possibility of future resources under the sea. Third, they add to the cultural diversity of the United States. Places like Puerto Rico, Guam, and American Samoa bring unique traditions, languages, and histories that enrich the wider nation. And finally, they matter because of the people who live there. Millions of U.S. citizens and nationals call these territories home. Even though they do not always have the same rights as people in the 50 states, their voices, cultures, and contributions are part of what makes America what it is today. In short, territories may look small on a map, but they carry a weight that is far greater than their size. Now that we understand why territories matter, it is also important to look at the catch. Living in these places is not the same as living in one of the 50 states. Most people in the territories are U.S. citizens or nationals, but they do not always have the same rights. For example, people in Puerto Rico can vote in presidential primaries, but not in the main election. In other territories like Guam or American Samoa, residents have very limited political power at the federal level. Another challenge is the economy. Many territories rely heavily on tourism, military spending, or limited industries, which means jobs and wages are often lower compared to the mainland. There are also struggles with infrastructure and public services. Healthcare, transportation, and education in many territories do not receive the same level of funding as the states, which makes daily life harder for the people who live there. So while the territories add cultural richness and strategic importance to the United States, the people living there often face barriers that highlight a deep gap between the mainland and the islands. The story of America's territories is a reminder that the United States is more than just its 50 states. These lands hold culture, history, and people who are a vital part of the nation, even if they do not always get the same recognition or support. If you found this video helpful and want to keep learning about places and topics that shape America, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support means a lot and helps us continue creating more content for you.